Hey everyone, welcome to a brand new episode of Cult Movie Tuesdays, right here on Night Owl Video. Thank you to everybody who's recently subscribed, giving me the thumbs up, and also all the wonderful comments that I've been getting. I appreciate all of your support. Today we're talking about Bottle Rocket from Wes Anderson. So we're going to be talking about cast, production, my thoughts on the film, critical response, all that kind of jazz, so I hope you'll stick around. I've just been recently in the mood to watch some kind of lighter fare. I don't know if there's a name for this genre of movie, like the Little Miss Sunshine, Juno, Rushmore. All these kinds of movies are like these quirky comedies, in independent, kind of like lower budget, quirky, kind of cutesy comedies. I don't know what if that has a genre name, but I've recently just been in the mood for a lot of that stuff. I've been listening to a lot of like Beat Happening and the Pastels and a lot of like Jangle Pop and Twee Pop. And I was like, I'm in the mood for some lighter kind of things. And so I recently went to a cool store called Select Sounds in Bedford, Nova Scotia. And they had a wonderful selection of DVDs and Blu-rays, and they were alphabetized, which was very helpful because I have a little list on my phone of movies I'm looking for, and I was specifically looking for a bunch of Wes Anderson movies to revisit because I saw these back in the 90s. This and Rushmore is another one that I grabbed recently that I watched as well. But I wanted to revisit these ones because I just because I wanted to. That's it. Now, I haven't seen a lot of the newer Wes Anderson movies, but I do love some of the older ones. Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou is one of my favorites. One of my favorite comedies in general, but probably my favorite of the Wes Anderson movies. Though that said, I like a lot of them. Royal Tenenbaums and Rushmore and Fantastic Mr. Fox, the stop motion animation movie. Grand Budapest Hotel, which is not my favorite. I'm not a big mystery fan, because I'm a little... mysteries tend to confuse me a lot. I have a hard time following. It was like when I first saw Lord of the Rings, and I was like, it's another guy with long hair and a beard. Is that the same guy that I saw in the other thing? So, for me, I like the simple plots. This is probably, like a lot of Wes Anderson movies, a fairly simple linear plot, but this one, yeah. Let's get into it. This is a crime comedy film from 1996. Quirky comedy, one of those kind of ones. This was directed by Wes Anderson, who, like I mentioned, had also directed Rushmore, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, Life Aquatic, Grand Budapest Hotel. He's got a new one coming out, The Phoenician Scheme, I think it's called, which is actually going to be playing at my local art house theater, so I'm probably going to try to get to that if I can. This movie stars the Wilson brothers, Owen and Luke. Owen Wilson, you might remember from Meet the Parents, as well as I always think of him as the little cowboy from Night at the Museum. And Luke Wilson, of course, has been in a bunch of the Wes Anderson movies, Rushmore and Royal Tenenbaums. This also stars a person named Lumi Cavazos, who was in Like Water for Chocolate, Bless the Child, and of course the incomparable James Caan, rest in peace, who was in Rollerball, Thief, and probably most memorable for most people, Misery with Kathy Bates. If you've never seen that movie, go check it out. But be warned, there's a little thing called the hobbling. The synopsis for Bottle Rocket is three friends plan to pull off a simple robbery and go on the run. There's not a lot to this movie as far as the plot. This is, again, mostly character-driven, like a lot of the Wes Anderson movies. This was Wes Anderson's directorial debut. It was also the acting debut for both brothers, Owen and Luke Wilson. Now that's feature film-wise. I think they did a short version of this movie, a 13-minute version of Bottle Rocket, which I actually haven't seen yet. I'm curious to check it out. But that was a precursor to this. But this is Luke and Owen Wilson's first feature film, as well as Wes Anderson's first directorial debut. The film was written by Wes Anderson and Owen Wilson, and is based on the short of that same name, as I mentioned, Principal photography for Bottle Rocket took place in various locations throughout Texas. Director Martin Scorsese later named Bottle Rocket as one of his top 10 favorite films of the 1990s. And I think in general, Martin Scorsese likes Wes Anderson's movies. I think I read somewhere that he kind of liked how Wes Anderson kind of developed the characters and was able to have this kind of like these sort of simple but at the same time kind of intricate relationships between people. According to Wikipedia, after this film failed to receive any commercial success, Owen Wilson considered joining the Marines for a brief period. I'm glad he didn't, though, because he's been in a lot of really awesome movies. Wes Anderson is barely visible in this film, but he does make a cameo as a passenger on the bus at the beginning of the film, right behind the Wilson brothers. This film currently has an 86% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.9 over 10 on IMDb. According to Wikipedia, the budget for the film was $5 million and the box office was $560,000. So this movie did not perform very well financially. I didn't actually go to research if Wes Anderson movies typically make a lot of money. I'm going to guess they probably don't, but they probably break even or a bit better, I would have to guess. But yeah, this was his directorial debut. Nobody knew who Wes Anderson was. Nobody knew who the Wilson brothers were at this point. And so yeah, this movie I didn't get like a wide release, and unfortunately was probably relegated to mostly like art house theaters and second run theaters, and probably a very minimal amount of opening weekend screens. But yeah, it probably picked up some momentum once it hit VHS and then eventually DVD. The DVD and Blu-ray are available from Criterion, as far as I know, still. And there apparently is a 4K of Bottle Rocket coming out from Criterion this coming September. So that's something to look forward to if you are a Criterion collector. So yeah, and the film generally got pretty good reviews from the critics. Like I mentioned before, Scorsese listed it as one of his favorites of the 90s. But yeah, it did well, like critically wise, just not financially. My thoughts on this film, like I said, I saw this back in the day on VHS with my partner at the time. I have to say I wasn't a big fan of this movie when I saw it. I wasn't a big fan of Rushmore when I first saw it. And I think it's because I just didn't understand the Wes Anderson film language, which if you watched a lot of his movies, there's a lot of these similarities, these aesthetic similarities between them, with the kind of like 60s folk music and the jump cuts to like all the different items that somebody's packing in a bag, and the general quirkiness. The camera pans over a scene. Like I think of in Life Aquatic, one of my you guys probably know if you've watched my channel for a while, I love movies that are like set at sea or underwater, and that one's no exception. But it has that beautiful pan across the bow of the ship, and it shows all the rooms in the boat, all the compartments and stuff, and people doing different things in all the different rooms. And I love that. It's like I'm also a big fan of those like cutaway books where they show you like the interiors of things. And though not in this movie, you can see where Wes Anderson was headed if you watch this. So it's kind of a cool rewatch in that sense, because you kind of see like, oh, I see where that's going to play out again. There is an underwater shot in this, I believe, or was it Rushmore? I can't remember now. Maybe it was Rushmore. But yeah, it's just got a lot of those aesthetic choices that Wes Anderson will have in subsequent films. But yeah, so I didn't really love this one. I definitely liked it way better this time when I rewatched it. I like the chemistry between the characters, the simple plot. Again, it's easy to follow for people like me who don't like complex plots. It's just me. I like the sense of humor that Wes Anderson puts in his movies, and like I said, it gives you a hint of what's to come. The soundtrack matched it very well. I'm getting a little mixed up because I did watch Rushmore last night as well, and that also has that kind of quirky 60s folk and those little quirky music interludes. which are so common in his films now. Um, this is just a good little quirky 90s sort of crime comedy. Uh, I wonder, like, in some ways, if this wasn't inspired by a lot of what was going around at the time. Excuse me. But like around this time, Kevin Smith, Quentin Tarantino, a lot of those directors were getting popular. Excuse me. And this kind of, I wonder if this was like inspired a little bit by that quirkiness of the early 90s cinema. I think Owen Wilson may have been, and maybe some people will snicker at this, but overacting a little bit. And I think it's because he wanted to make such a great impression in his first film. But he's really over the top. As soon as the movie starts, out of the gate, he's just doing his usual thing. This is, I think, the first film where he, I can't imitate him, but you know how he says, what? Like, what? This was apparently the first film where he did that signature line, and a lot of people imitate his voice, but and he says "what" a lot in that voice. Apparently, this is the first movie where he did that. Well, I mean, it is his first movie, so I guess that makes sense. But he did start right out of the gate doing that kind of voice and that. So I thought that was kind of a funny little tidbit for you film nerds out there. But yeah, I generally really enjoyed rewatching this movie. It's got a great, like I said, a great independent film vibe, because it is. It's a director doing what he can with what he has, and yeah, it's just cool. I'm really inspired to do a movie myself, or a short movie, and watching this, I was like, oh, this is so like inspirational. If you're an up and coming, or somebody who makes short films or even long form films, and you're looking for some inspiration, this is a really good one for that. I would say like the Kevin Smith kind of vibe with Clerks and Mallrats. It's got that kind of guerrilla style camera work, and just really fun. Leonard Maltin said Bottle Rocket is bright, original, and funny, and I would have to agree with him. Pat Travers of Rolling Stone said sharply funny and touching. Yeah, this is great. This DVD is the 2006 Sony Columbia Pictures release. It is restricted in Canada, rated 14. I guess maybe in Quebec, I'm not sure. This is a Region 1 DVD. It's 1:85 to 1 aspect ratio. There's no special features on this at all. So I know, like I said, this has a Criterion. I'm trying to remember. I'm getting this and Rushmore mixed up, because I found a bunch of these together at the same time when I went thrifting, and I'm trying to remember if it was the Bottle Rocket or the Rushmore. They had, I think it was Rushmore on the Criterion DVD, but the disc was kind of scratched, so I settled for just the more basic studio versions. But yeah, highly recommend Bottle Rocket if you like kind of low budget independent films, quirky comedies, like I said, quirky like crime. This is listed as a crime comedy. I mean, it's just like some goofball brothers and their friends who are going to commit a robbery, and all the hijinks that take place after that, stealing cars and things like that. And it's just fun. It's just it's, turn your brain off and just have a little hour and a half with Wes Anderson and his quirky little characters and his quirky world. So if you like those kind of things, check out Bottle Rocket. I would recommend checking that out. I did rewatch Rushmore last night, and I actually kind of fell in love with this movie. This is another one I saw back in the day that I wasn't a big fan of, but now that I'm kind of more familiar with Wes Anderson's style, and everything's very centered in his cinematography, and everything's very like what's the word, symmetrical, and the quirkiness again. I guess back then in the 90s, I just wasn't prepared for that. I was used to more like Hollywood blockbusters or weird cult movies, but then there's this whole new like film language, much like Tarantino and Kevin Smith and people like that. this was a whole new kind of like burgeoning directorial style and film style. So now that I'm more immersed in the Wes Anderson style, going back and watching these, I'm kind of loving them because I'm seeing, where he came from and all these little things that he uses throughout his other films. So it's kind of cool in that sense. So if you've only seen the more newer Wes Anderson movies, go back and check out these older ones. But for today, Bottle Rocket, highly recommended. That's it for today, guys, for Cult Movie Tuesday. If you missed it this past weekend, I did another one of my What's This Doing on My Shelf shorts, so go back and check that out. I did have a pretty good thrifting haul last week, which actually included these two movies, so I got a lot of views on that, so thank you to everybody who watched that, and go back and check that out. Be sure to leave a comment about Bottle Rocket. Did you love this movie? Do you think Wes Anderson's overrated? Are you sick of hearing about Wes Anderson? I don't know. He has a new one coming out, Phoenician Scheme, which I'm excited to go check out at my local art house theater. I think it's coming out in the next week or two, so I'll be excited to go check that out. But that's it for today. Thank you so much if you've made it this far. Thank you so much for watching. I'm trying to keep my videos a little shorter. That's it. Thanks for watching. Until next time, you know the drill, baby. I'll see you at the video store or the thrift store or just out and about somewhere. Maybe we can get together and conduct a quirky comedy heist of our own. But until next time, wear your jumpsuit, take good care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.